There was a wild rabbit that used to visit my house. She wasn't my pet. I never fed her. I never even touched her. But she kept appearing outside, quiet and consistent, woven into the background of my daily life. Then, one day, she got hit by a car. Her death left me with an unexpected, deep emotional ache, a grief that felt surprisingly personal. We usually assume attachment requires close proximity, like romantic love or a family bond, some form of physical ownership. By all our normal cultural rules, losing a distant wild animal shouldn't hurt. But the psychologist John Bowlby understood a different mechanism. He realized that human attachment isn't built on logic or ownership at all. It forms through two specific, powerful ingredients: emotional significance and repeated presence. This represents how the process works biologically. Our nervous system continuously maps isolated, everyday events. Over time, those data points connect, rigidifying into a tangible psychological structure that helps stabilize our identity. Repetition quietly becomes our emotional reality. The rabbit's sudden absence erased a structural pillar of the emotional landscape my nervous system had built to regulate its daily survival. Bowlby called these reliable fixtures a secure base. We typically assign that label to parents or partners, but our nervous systems gladly organize around much smaller forms of continuity: a morning routine, a familiar face at work, or an animal outside the window. Carl Jung observed this phenomenon closely, noting that the smallest objects imbued with personal meaning hold immense psychological weight in a person's life. When one of those secure bases suddenly vanishes, the nervous system experiences a severe structural collapse within its own internal reality. If we apply this biological framework to human romantic dynamics, it explains a deeply confusing behavior: why people continually stay in deeply incompatible, painful relationships. Society frequently assumes people remain in harmful dynamics because they lack willpower. But our attachment system is an ancient, highly evolved survival mechanism. It isn't easily overridden by conscious choice. Our logical brain asks, is this relationship healthy? But the nervous system operates under a completely different priority. Its first and only question is this emotionally familiar? A relationship can be painful, limiting, and completely broken, yet it will feel impossible to leave, because the nervous system prioritizes structural organization over emotional happiness. This conflict is highly visible in avoidant relationships. These dynamics are defined by intermittent emotional availability. You experience intense moments of closeness, immediately followed by withdrawal and distance. Biologically speaking, intermittent emotional reward is one of the strongest, most addictive reinforcement systems a human can endure. We can see exactly why by looking at this model of identity completion theory. An oscillating relationship acts as a dynamic line that repeatedly attempts to close an emotional loop, but continually fails. It leaves a permanent, active gap, preventing the nervous system from settling. Because the loop remains open, the nervous system is forced to stay highly activated. It constantly analyzes the partner's erratic behavior, endlessly seeking a definitive resolution that never arrives. This creates a cruel biological paradox. As Bowlby observed, the threat of separation actually triggers the attachment system, so the partner's emotional distance is the exact mechanism causing the victim's attachment to intensify and lock into place. The intense obsession found in these avoidant loops is a natural biological response. The nervous system is desperately trying to secure an emotional survival need that keeps slipping out of reach. Walking away from these incompatible relationships carries a heavy toll. You are forced to grieve the loss of an unfinished story, a projected future identity, and a core emotional regulation system. It brings us right back to the wild rabbit. In both scenarios, the nervous system is grieving the exact same thing: the sudden, jarring interruption of continuity. Modern culture often demands that we harden ourselves. We're told that emotional maturity means becoming heavily guarded, fiercely independent, and strictly detached from others. But genuine emotional maturity requires something else entirely. It is the acquired, discerning ability to separate the raw feeling of biological attachment from the actual reality of compatibility. A fully functioning, healthy human nervous system will sometimes fiercely attach to people and situations completely incapable of keeping it safe. That is simply a vulnerability of our biology. True healing begins when we stop fighting our innate drive to connect. It happens when we can finally recognize the clear difference between familiar emotional patterns and true emotional stability.